Go. So let's see what we're talking about today. So we're staying focused on the game plan. There's a lot that goes into that. That was ZVZ. This is all. Oh, right, that's here. It's already here. Let's highlight that a bit. By using very annoying spaces. Obnoxious. Good. Oh, we can close this for now. I don't know if this is better. This is okay. I guess it's not very incriminating. So what I wonder is why, what is throwing him off? Because weird builds, that can be a lot. So that can either be just complete compositions, all-ins, etc. that don't fit the meta, like that you just don't see at all, or things that hit early or late. Like your opponent might be very bad, and he just doesn't do the build order correctly, so he hits 30 seconds later or 1 minute later with a certain push or a drop. That can be very annoying. I have that with Zerg a lot when I get 2-1-1'd and the drop with the Marines just doesn't come. I'm like, okay, it didn't come. And then suddenly it like pops up in your third and you're like, what the? And then like they end up like moving out late and dropping in the middle of the map and then walking all the way to your third. And I'm like, what? Like, those are kind of mind-boggling. But a lot of this boils down to scouting, and that's an annoying answer to hear. Because just scout better is like, whew, that's a tough pill to swallow, right? Because it's hard. I think we're going to talk a lot about kind of designing moments, decision moments. Like kind of key moments where, okay, now I make X decision. Which you already naturally do as a Zerg, so it's I feel like it shouldn't be that hard, but in the flow of a game, it's very difficult to do. Which is why I feel like we'll probably... Oh, I need to turn off the light, actually. Yeah, but like I was saying, we're probably gonna look at moments where we have to make decisions, which relates a lot to scouting because usually you make decisions before or after scouting certain things or not scouting certain things. But yeah, it's kind of like you scout a starport with a tech lab and you don't see the Banshee, and then you're like, what now? And well, the obvious thing is to expect a second Banshee, or it's suddenly a battle cruiser. In either way, you should uh, have one or two queens near your main, and the rest together to between your natural and third kind of setup, right? You can do that in different ways. Uh, and then suddenly you check the replay, and he just switched off his starport and made another factory, and suddenly you're getting tank pushed. So those are just just bad builds, and I think the poker aspect of StarCraft kind of comes in there, where you're not gonna win all of your games. Yo, Haku. I think I'm ready. Everything works out. Let me check. Thijs met de content. You're nervous. No worries, I'm also very nervous. Right, we can just do. I'll just call you up, okay? Let's see if it works.
Hi there.
Yo, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yo. Good afternoon, man. How you doing?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good. I tried to be, how do you say it, productive this morning because I haven't been yesterday after we basically set the date for today. I was really playing StarCraft, so I tried to get some games in today because, like, I don't know, my replays are quite outdated, I guess.
Mm-hmm. How did that go?
Uh, quite all right, to be honest. Quite all right. It's sometimes I don't really want to check my replays after I win or after I lose because I'm so frustrated by the game. I'm probably a bit too emotional for StarCraft.
Right, yeah, I have that myself a lot when I just continue or come back to the game. Then I'm always like, well, I know I'm doing everything wrong. I just need to play more. It's fine. I don't have to look at the replays.
It's-
And there's some
it,
truth in that, I think.
I'm like stuck since probably like 2 years. I think that's what I wrote you. And
Yeah.
when I had like a year long StarCraft break, and I was staying. I'm from Germany, and I was staying
Hmm.
in Spain, and I did not have my PC there. So what I did is go to like a PC bang. They had stuff like that around there, and I only went there like 2 times, 3 times a week to play StarCraft, just to get back into the game because I was enjoying it quite a lot. And I played like 2 times a week for 3 hours, and I made such big improvements. And now I'm back to Germany since 2 years basically, and I'm playing daily like an hour, and there's like nothing is happening.
Right.
And
Okay.
it's I don't know, the amount of games does not really seem to matter because I'm making the same mistakes I made like 4 or 5 years ago, and I normally even know about them, but I can't fix them.
So, so what you're saying is you saw a lot of improvement whilst you were playing intermittently in
Y-
Spain, but
Basically,
now
but
that you're actively playing in Germany, you're not really seeing the same improvement.
kinda, but it might be that it was just I wasn't even improving at all. It was just me getting back to the level that I had before I stopped playing. Like it wasn't like a year long break, and I started like at 4.2 and climbed up relatively easily to 4.7, 4.8, 4.95, and then it stopped.
Yeah,
But
it gets harder. Every 100 MMR it just gets harder.
I was trying to like I don't know pick a replay that really annoyed me or something like that, but I wasn't really able to find something where I was like, that's exactly my problem. I got if I have to describe it, for example, I have a game plan in ZVT, and then the enemy is
Yo,
doing
Veggie, what's
something
up?
that I don't understand, and nothing works anymore. The autopilot is basically off, and I can't handle it. And then I'm floating, and I don't know. It's really weird.
Yeah. So, um, you already gave me a small insight into how
Yeah.
you play StarCraft 2, how you experience the game. I would like to hear it in your own words. I think you mentioned you're like a completely macro focused Zerg player. I mean, you'd like to keep it that way. Is that correct?
Yeah, basically,
Yeah.
I only do like what is my all-in repertoire? It's like if I'm up against a super high Terran and I'm already lost like 10 games, I would do like a Ravager Ling all-in or stuff like that. But besides
Mhm.
that, I don't really have anything like no builds that I know of. Sometimes I open like pool first and a 6 road rush versus Terran,
Oh, that's good.
uh, but it's
Strong.
mostly I don't know. I don't. Sometimes I love it. Sometimes I hate it because. And the only thing I don't consider it an all in. There's a Lambo published recently. A lot of guides. I don't know if you
Yeah,
have seen them.
definitely, definitely.
Um,
Watching
I
those.
hate late game versus Protoss. And I'm doing like I don't want to do like the Queen Roach all in or stuff like that. So what I try to do to keep it more macro focus is I go for the high lurker range, like
Hmm.
9 minute max
Right,
out
that
Queen
one. Yeah,
lurker.
with
Yeah,
like a bunch of queens, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
If it normally it kills them. If it doesn't kill them and I'm still alive, then I go into late game. But I don't really hasn't really happened since
Yeah.
the last month.
I think that's really uh, I think that's a nice way of going about a matchup that you have problems with.
I mean,
Making
I
sure
would
that you have some decisive fights or moments before that happens.
yeah, because it gives me a game plan, you know, because
Yeah.
I know I have to do this and that, and the harass from the Protoss up until 9 or 10 minutes is always different. So I still feel like I'm playing an open game. I don't know how to call it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay. So, um, anything else you want to share about your StarCraft experience? Like, what do you enjoy about it? How do you see yourself as a
I
player? Anything
I
we
like
haven't mentioned?
being competitive. That's basically why I like StarCraft because I like to compete.
Hmm.
I wouldn't consider myself a bad loser. I'm just very angry at myself because I'm making mistakes, and it really hurts my mindset. I get easily thrown off if I write "Good luck, have fun," and the enemy doesn't write back stuff like that. It's like then I'm already like if something doesn't work in a game, normally it spirals out of control. If I lose a drone against the Reaper, I'm already in a bad mindset. So that's really an issue, to be honest.
Yeah, yeah.
uh,
Why
um,
does that happen?
I
You think?
I don't because that's what love and that's what I love and hate about StarCraft. It kind of you don't have anyone else to blame on. That's why people in StarCraft are so hard on balance whining because you don't have teammates to blame your mistakes on. So the only person that is left to blame for your mistakes is basically you. Because I mean, if I play against a 5K Terran and I can't beat him, Raynor could have bet him, you know. I
Yeah.
mean, it's a hard example, but I'm just not playing good enough. So if I fuck it up, it's my fault, and that really hurts sometimes because you don't you know it's your fault, and that basically I don't know doing stuff because you're incapable of doing them is like that's a really bad feeling, at least for me. And but I kind of like it because if something works out it feels even better because you know you have done it right and it worked and that's a really nice feeling. That's why I still play this game after 10 years.
Yeah, this is very recognizable. So I would really like to get into well the problem that you
Yeah,
tried to formulate. Like a quick overview is you have problems staying focused on the game plan, especially you're confused by weird builds that don't fit the meta. So I'm interested in knowing what you mean by that exactly in a minute.
yeah.
Um, and you cite ZVZ as your biggest problem.
I have
Um,
no idea about the matchup.
yeah, which makes total sense because ZVZ is a lot about mind games. It's a lot about playing the player and not a lot about playing the matchup because you have the same tools. So it's a lot about tricking the other person and cutting corners that you shouldn't really cut if they know. But um, at least that's my vision of Zerg versus Zerg.
Yeah,
And then you mentioned a little bit about your microcycle, a macrocycle. That's hard to keep up. I
yeah.
don't know how related that is. It's obviously hard to do when you're distracted. But yeah,
I
keeping up with your
probably
macrocycles is a lot. It's just In my eyes, it's just practice. What do you think?
Yeah, it's probably just practice to stay in
Yeah.
it. Because, like, for example, I mean, every Zerg knows the basic concept of keep injecting, keep spreading creep, building overlords, not getting supply blocked, don't let your lava sit, and if nothing is happening, everything works out fine. The
Yeah, that's
moment
easy.
Hellion Liberator harass comes in, I don't know. I'm focusing
Ah,
defending the harass. I look back at my queens, and it feels like a couple of seconds later, and then they already have like 75 energy each, and I'm like, fuck.
yeah.
and,
I
and
hate
this,
this exact moment. I don't know if you can relate, where your queens are 2 centimeters out of position. The Hellions run
oh
by.
no,
You hold it off pretty well, and then you look at your main, and a Liberator killed all of your drones and the queen.
that's the best feeling
But
ever,
you
to be
have a spore,
honest.
it just wasn't positioned quite right. That's the best feeling. It's like, yes, he's so good at the game. Yes, I lost.
it's what I find very frustrating, for example, is if there is a build that you know of that might happen. For example, I mean, it's a recent one because it happened to me this morning. uh,
Ah, yeah,
I play frequently against proxy zealot. I don't even know why, like, forget proxy zealot, and
right.
I've always struggled with it. Lambo
Hmm.
also made a video on it, and it helped me quite a lot.
Yeah,
But every time this build happens, it happens so infrequently that my reaction always is worse than it should be, like, in theory.
yeah,
So I see it and I'm completely thrown off. And till I am able to comprehend what is happening, I've basically lost again. And that's what happens frequently to me. Like,
yeah,
I know the 6 gate glaive adept is coming, and sometimes and I can't hold it off. And sometimes it feels like it does not even make any difference for me if I know it's coming or not, because I fuck it up anyways, and
yeah,
that hurts.
yeah.
Uh,
Um, so I know this feeling very well. I think when I got back into the game at the start of the year, I also faced like 4 gates, and I faced a proxy 2 or 3 racks in a tournament recently, and I just, in theory, I know what to do,
yeah,
but I was just so thrown. I was like, oh my god, right? This is a thing. What do I do again? And you start thinking, and that's kind of when you lose, right? Because
yeah. You don't
with
have
those,
time to think in this
no,
game.
with these builds, you have to be very fast. I think that has a lot to do with what type of game you're on.
Yeah,
Like when you're like hitting your stride and you're feeling like Rainer, right? You're playing your A game. You're
yeah,
like on point. But that's like 10-15% of the time I think I'm at my A game. And
yeah.
like 60% of the time I'm at my B game, right? I'm kind of chilling, but I'm making some small mistakes, and that's okay. And then
I
sometimes I'm playing in my C game. Oh, that's scary because that's the days that I can lose to like 4 or 6 Protosses that just put 4 gateways next to my natural, and I just freak out. I'm like, shit, there goes my ladder points.
No, very, very relatable.
Yeah.
That's why I'm too afraid to play rank. By the way, it's
Ah. No, I
my
completely
unranked MMR is
identify.
higher than my ranked.
Yes, my unranked MMR is also a couple hundred higher than my ranked. Um, which I think is fine. Well, playing unranked is totally fine. You're playing the game, you're having fun, right? And if the rating just throws you off, I wouldn't worry about it. My
Oh,
personal philosophy is that I only play ranked when I feel like I've warmed up.
that's what I did in Spain. I was like going to the PC bank, played 3 games unranked, and then all the other games ranked, and that helped me improve. Like,
Yeah,
I don't
exactly.
like not improve. It improved my MMR.
Yeah,
Let's
yeah.
keep
Well,
it
it
that way.
definitely does. I mean, statistically speaking, you're very, or not very, but more likely to lose the first game of the day than you are to win it. Which
Yeah.
is it's just like I don't have the paper, but it's a fact.
Do
And
you
so
know this feeling if you like sit down at your PC and you start up the game and everything feels a little like the first game of the day and everything just feels weird? And I can see I can't really focus on the monitor. I'm just looking at the sides. I still recognize my desk and I recognize the
yeah,
pictures on the wall. And after like 2, 3 games, it's just I'm basically in the screen. And then
yeah,
the games
yeah,
start getting
yeah.
good. That's
I know that feeling. Yeah,
uh,
I kind of feel like I'm like my hands are stuck in syrup, kind of like just slightly too slow with everything, and everything still takes conscious effort for some reason, and then once I plug
Yeah,
in, I'm
yeah.
like, oh, this is how it feels. This is why I play. Then we start having fun. Yeah. So to get back to your question,
Yeah.
how to stay focused, you cite that your biggest problem is getting confused by weird builds or stuff that doesn't fit the meta. Can you elaborate? What does that mean for you?
Like there are like two kinds of stuff like I scout something from my enemy and I just think this is bad, this is late. It's like uh, uh I can see it and I can tell that he played his build order wrong or it's just delayed. Some people just I, I mean, cybercore scouting at my level sometimes doesn't even make sense. Is the warp gate spinning or is it not? People are like sometimes even forgetting it for half a minute and you are just like, oh yeah, it's definitely a Stargate. And then you look the replay and they just were floating like 250 gas and they placed all their buildings too late and stuff like that. So I think I'm safe or I think I understood it and then it still happens and I die.
Yeah,
That's really annoying. And then there's stuff like I played a game yesterday against TKL from OG Gaming.
yeah, I
I
know him.
face him quite frequently. He almost
He's a bit
never
of a
cheeses.
rager.
Yeah, I know. But he seems to be a nice guy. I've always had like nice macro games against him. And yesterday he played against me and he blocked my natural. Normally he doesn't do that. I was like, what? And I was already thrown off because I know him so well, because I played him so frequently that all this small thing that is normal against other Protosses weirded me out a lot. And then he just rallied. He let the pylon finish at my natural. He blocked it with a pylon and let it finish. I was like, that's a waste of minerals. And then he came in with an adept, came back with the pro, placed the cyber core at my natural, and the base was blocked. And I was like floating like 600 minerals. And I was like, what the hell is going on? And in that moment, when I realized I have 600 minerals at 4 minutes or so, I'm like, fuck this. And my mindset goes down a lot and I don't want to play this anymore. So
Right.
I Queen Lingol into him with a Nidus.
Hmm.
And I think I was close to winning, but I was so tittled that even during the all in, I was floating a lot of money. So it's stuff like small things like that. It's plays I don't expect or
Hmm.
builds I can't read. I don't know.
Hmm.
Um, and I had a game against the Terran, I think it was yesterday, that just he just walked on creep with like a 200 supply army at like 10 minutes, pure marine tank, and just walked over me, and I felt bad about it. That also hurt, but it's not related to my problem. Sorry, I'm talking a bit too much.
No, it's okay. It's okay. I like it when you are talking.
uh,
I just do the asking of questions.
it's freaking me out a bit, like talking about all this stuff.
Yeah, yeah, but it's
It feels weird, like to
talking
share
helps
it.
you think. Trust me. Uh,
uh,
so, I had a thought, but it's kind of slipping away.
yeah, because I'm talking too much, obviously.
Mm, don't worry about it. Um, so right. So how do you approach a normal game? Like when you hit a random Protoss or a Terran on the ladder.
um,
What's your train of thought?
Normally I try to like have my basically macro idea of what I want to do. If I'm indecisive in something like that, it's always a little bit bad. But if I play against Protoss, for example, right now in the meta, I always consider Sky Toss an option. So I
Hmm.
will try to stick to the my game plan is like 950. He's probably going to play Sky Toss 915. I'm going to have the lurker timing. If he does play like Twilight or Robo, I'm probably going to defend some early aggression, and then I would probably go into Ravager Bane. That's the idea that I go with into the game. And yeah, from there on, it depends on what the opponent is doing. I'm really struggling being the reactive player because
Hmm.
I have to. I don't know. Defending is a lot harder, I think, than attacking because if you have a
Yes.
build order, you know what you have to do. The earlier the build order hits, the less the enemy can do about it or change your plans.
Hmm.
So executing a build that hits at 9:15, in my opinion, is harder than executing something that hits at 6 minutes because
Yeah.
you're playing against somebody and he's influencing what you are doing. So I always have this plan in mind, but normally the first things happen and I don't know.
Hmm.
I throw everything out of the window and freestyle. I freestyle a lot probably. Uh, with a basic concept in mind where I want to get, but how I get there is normally a little bit open, I guess.
So you say you do freestyling with the general concept in mind or general goal in mind.
I think that would be the most honest thing to say.
Yeah. Because that sounds pretty resilient, right? To weird things. If you're freestyling anyways and you have a goal in mind, that sounds pretty
If you know how to
resilient.
react to those, yeah, definitely. But it's there. Probably if you have a low level player like me, you have so much stuff you can fix that it's like
Yeah.
so many small things you might fix that improve you so much overall that stuff like this doesn't become an issue anymore.
Yeah. Well, two things.
Yeah.
One, I mean, have you ever played poker, or do you
No,
know
but
the
I,
concept?
I have a book here that
Yeah.
is supposed to teach me about tilting,
Oh,
the mental game of poker.
right. Okay, I've read it. It's a nice book. I would definitely say that it's worth your time. They also talk about the ABC game. They talk about
Yeah.
improving your C game, and your A game will help you stretch.
Yeah.
So if you I don't know, have you already read it? Because otherwise I'm just
I have
regurgitating.
heard this the
Right.
ABC rule at least. I think
Yeah.
Neuro
Yeah,
talked
Neuro
about
talks
it
about it
in
a
one of
lot.
his videos.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. He
I haven't watched it. He has like an hour-long video all about it. I
yeah.
did not watch that because,
Yeah. No,
but
but
I've
there's
heard
some
about
nice
it.
concepts in that book, definitely. So, and especially if you're experiencing some tilting, then it's nice. It's a very nice read. Definitely to like look back at different times.
Yeah.
Um,
I honestly I have it laying like right next to my bed since probably like 2 months. Haven't touched it.
ah, oh,
But
well,
I should be reading
couple
it.
pages a
Yes.
day and you'll get there. But
Yeah.
where I wanted to go is, um, do you go into any game expecting to win,
Yes.
and do you go into any game allowing yourself to lose?
What is allowing myself to lose?
Well,
Mean.
I'm gonna uh, lean heavily on the poker here. Is you
Yeah.
can do the right actions in
Mhm.
poker and still lose, right? You can do the correct plays with the hand that you have with the highest
Yeah.
expected value, but you can still lose.
Because there's in poker there's luck involved, right? I mean,
Yes.
it depends on the cards being
Hmm.
drawn. You can minimize the luck, but I mean, there's still luck left, right?
Yes.
So
Exactly.
have never really felt that in StarCraft.
No.
So
But
that
in StarCraft, um, I would say there is some RNG. It's not in the game, but it's in us. Like, I don't play the same way every game because I make small mistakes. Maybe I'm
yeah,
distracted. Maybe I'm trying a stupid new thing. Maybe my opponent is just a dumbass. It doesn't matter. Every game doesn't look the same. It changes a little bit. And so sometimes you encounter a variation that you're just not comfortable with. You're just not in the mindset to deal with it. Whatever happens, and so in the end, the MMR system makes sure that we win and lose 50% of our games, ish, right?
yeah,
So I think it's very important to kind of realize that even though I expect to win, um, losing is not an how do you say an outlawed outcome. It you shouldn't suspect to lose, but losing is not um, something that should surprise you. If that makes sense.
no, I get it.
Yeah,
Uh, it's
because
like if I queue up. I mean, since the new MMR system, like the numbers on screen and the loading screen, I tend to be like very confident if I play against somebody like 4.6. If he's 4.4, I start getting scared because I might be able to lose, and then I would be mad at myself because the lower they get, the more scared I am of like losing, to be honest. And if they're very high, I tend to do stupid stuff because I'm like I can't win anyways.
yeah,
So I preferred the old system where I always played the same game, and sometimes at the ending game screen I was like, "Whoa, he was very high," and I was like really happy.
yeah, right. It just told you if you were slightly favored or not, and that stuff, right?
Yeah,
Ah,
yeah,
that's an
right.
old system. We go way back. 2010, here we come. So, but the allowing yourself to lose kind of ties into um, how you change your game plan. So you're telling me that you're freestyling a lot, which I think can be fine in certain areas. But I think there's a place for playing and there's a place for talk or for thinking, right? There's a place for performing and there's a place for readjusting. And I think within StarCraft, we talk a lot about being decisive, right? But in StarCraft, you kind of want to stick to your game plan, even though you have your doubts, because then at least you are decisive, right? Because if I'm doing, let's say, a Roach build, and halfway I'm like, what if he's going Void Ray? And then I like start kind of changing my game plan, and then it kind of gets muddied and unclear and unfocused, and just kind of bad, right? Then I'm just every bad opponent that doesn't know what he's doing, because I'm not sticking to my own plan. But then after the game, I can go into the replay and be like, why was I uncertain here? And what should be my reaction? And I think that's really one of the things that we don't do enough in our build orders is install or design moments for those decisions. So, for example, a very easy example, because it's earlier to do early in the game. If you go 17 gas, 16 pool versus Protoss, so that's gas pool first opening, you can get a Ling into their base. And then it's easier to scout what they're doing, and based on that, you can take one of your trees of tech. So that's very intuitive, right? You can actually scout. Mm-hmm. But you can also do it the other way around, where, oh, I don't see a certain thing because I didn't get in with my Ling. Now I can eliminate a couple options. And it's very intuitive to us because it's so early in the game, and we have the tools to scout for it. But the other way around is... I'm sorry. There were some sounds in my room that distracted me.
Okay, because I did not hear them.
No, okay, that's good. But when you're playing a game and you're getting poked by your opponent, right? I think Neuro calls it getting slapped while trying to play the piano, which I think is a very good metaphor for StarCraft. You're both trying to perform a music piece while sitting next to each other, and you're allowed to slap the shit out of each other. I think that's word for word what he says. But like kind of building these moments of decision making further on into the early mid game even will be very robust, give you a very robust macro stance, I would say. Which, if you don't like, I would still call it macro, but some people just say, okay, I do this timing attack every time, and if my opponent doesn't die, then we go into a macro game. Right? That is still kind of the security of doing a timing, where you know I'm just going to do this, I'm not really going to react, and after we can play the game. But based on what that timing does, and some small things they see before they do the timing, they can adjust their build. But when you're executing it, you're just doing the build, right? And when you see something you don't know, you just kind of go back to the plan, like, well, I'm still doing my timing. I know that my timing is strong. I do it for a reason. So if he's doing something bad, he's always going to die. And if he does something that's apparently not bad, but I just don't know about it, or I don't understand it, I'll figure it out in the replay. I think if you can kind of leverage that mindset in the game, being like, okay, what I'm doing is good, is strong, I'm doing it for a reason, I'll probably just kill him. And if he does something amazingly stupid, I'll figure it out later. So what do you think? Is that
I mean, it sounds pretty relatable.
Yeah.
And it sounds like a decent, I mean, like a decent concept that you might follow. I mean, StarCraft is a very flexible game. I mean, you can't really stick to... I mean, in chess, it's the same. If you play a certain opening and your opponent can do like a lot of different moves, and you always have to somehow adapt to what he's doing.
Mm-hmm.
So it's basically impossible to stay the longer the game goes, at least it's more or less impossible to stay to a certain plan. So you have to keep it a little more open.
Yeah,
Uh,
definitely. But I think the same is true in chess as well, or at least I don't play a lot of it. I'm not very good. But from what I've played, I always kind of have a general plan with the
yeah.
well with the opening that I choose. Like, okay, I want to get some bishop lines over here. I want to like entrench a knight over there. If he castles queenside, I'm gonna push the pawns. Like, there's still
It's I think both games are very connected in that way. Uh,
yeah.
I mean, either one chess is turn based and so on, but like the general concept is probably relatively similar.
Huh.
They are build orders,
Yes.
or
I think
how do you call it? Draw orders. I don't really know. I'm not a big
yeah,
chess
move
player.
orders. I don't know. I always think that chess is a little bit more beautiful in that because you can do something very early in your opening that just affects like something 10 moves later. And then you're like, oh my god, putting that pawn there was so brilliant. I'm like, wow, okay, that doesn't happen in StarCraft. Because yeah, but I think that's mostly because chess begins with a max out army, and they end with 5 SEVs, whilst we start with 5 SEVs and we build up to a max army.
Yeah.
So, so the mid games are similar, but that's about it. And the goals are completely different. Also, in StarCraft, you can't really play for a draw, and in chess, it's kind of the most likely outcome on the higher levels, I think. So yeah, so we talked about your what you think is confusing and uh, things that don't fit the meta. And you okay? So you say you struggle with ZVZ and ZVT. I think it would be nice to zoom in on that a little bit. Do you
Hmm.
agree?
Yeah, sure, definitely.
So let's just start with ZVZ. What's the plan? How do you what throws you off? How do you feel about
I
the matchup? Anything?
I mean, I know the basic concept of the matchup. I mean, you can't really, as Zerg, I have to choose if I like build lings or drones. So I always have to keep in check what my opponent is building, so I can react like accordingly. And every inject is basically a little bit different. Is he building lings now? Is he building drones now? I think my like early game ZBZ is always a little bit hectic. If I'm really bad probably in general against I'm bad against all aggressive players, but in ZVZ it normally gets a little bit worse because I'm over or underbuilding drones or floating a lot during the early Ling Bane stuff. And I like to go mutalisks, but it never works. If I want to play mutas, I'm always dying to roaches. If I play against mutas, my roaches are doing shit. And I never really got a hang of it. Like my best StarCraft times, my highest rating in StarCraft was probably in ZVZ during the time where it was muta against muta every game and like +1 melee lings and stuff like that. And I can't seem to get there now. I haven't really played a lot of late game, like local late game, because it's so inconsistent what happens in ZVZ.
Yeah. Yeah, I really feel like it kind of died. The Hydra Lurker Viper, like it's so hard to get there nowadays.
It's I don't even know. Every time I play Roach, I play against Muta, and every time I play Muta, I'm dying to. I can't. It's really hard for me to comprehend it. I tried like earlier layers, later layers, and I timings don't really work because some people are like floating a lot of, but most people are like all inning, like doing like 12 pool drone rushes, 13 12s, like the thing where you take like a 14 pool and a fake hedge that looks like a natural and they're
Yeah,
link flooding. And
I know
I'm
that
not really
build,
that
yeah.
fine with the match.
Yeah, well, I think in ZVZ, I would say that's the most volatile matchup. That's where you're gonna see the most bullshit, or at least the most insecure people, because the
Yeah,
matchup is so difficult to get a grasp on, because you have the same tools.
yeah,
So like there is kind of a meta which the pros play, and they're good enough to play that meta. Um, but us 5K players, we just died to a link flood that we didn't see 2 seconds early enough. And we're kind of like, well, this build is shit now. And then, or at least
Uh,
that's how I feel sometimes.
I mean, it's always so much about faking, like walling
Mhm.
off your natural. You don't know what's going on behind there. You can't really fly an overlord, and it doesn't work. You need to get links, and uh, I always feel like I'm doing the wrong thing. I see a wall off, I'm like, okay, I can drone, and then it's like a link flood behind it, or he only has eight drones on his mineral line, and then he's flooding roaches.
Mhm.
And if I stay like hyper defensive, like I try to cut some corners, he's building like non-stop drones and has 10 more drones and just kills me. I don't I seem unable to get a grasp of the matchup, like what
Yeah.
to do and what not to do.
Yeah. Do you hear all the uncertainty that you have about the matchup and why a lot of people that have the same would choose to do a sharp all in or just a link flood just to kind of
I mean,
give themselves some certainty?
but I mean, I don't really. Every time I get link flooded, I feel like I'm the stupid guy because I'm not doing it. You know, I feel like I'm an idiot because I'm not doing it because it's so it's easier to execute, and even if it doesn't work, they always seem to be in a decent position, and I'm sitting there trying to figuring out what they are doing, and then I'm just dying in confusion. And it's I
Yeah.
bet a lot of people are feeling the same way, but like I said, I don't really like playing something that feels like an all-in because I
Hmm.
think I'm limiting myself. I
Yeah.
want to have a good base that I can build on. uh, that's why it's hard for me to say like I picked this aggressive CVZ build and elaborate from there.
Right.
I don't really know how to express it in any other way.
Hmm. Um, yeah. What I'm trying to say is that it makes a lot of sense to me that you get the most confused and kind of lose track of your game plan in the matchup that is the least about um,
Straight game plan.
yeah, straight up game plans. And because ZVZ is just kind of stupid sometimes. If you didn't see one round of Lings, you're suddenly dead because you don't have a catch up mechanic. You have the same stuff. So it's a lot more volatile in that way.
Yeah.
So but how do you like to play ZVZ right now? Do you just do the standard 3 base?
I normally don't even get there.
Wait,
It's
what?
like I try to do a standard freebase. I try to do a
Yeah,
standard freebase with an like what is it normally like at 330 most people take the
yeah,
like evolution chamber and then the first 100 guys either go into lair or the upgrade.
yeah.
I switch it up from game. I mean, normally I even miss those early timings to be honest. My
Hmm.
evo chamber is like 15 seconds late and stuff like that, but normally I try to get like it seems to not really matter at my level too much if I get the upgrade or the layer first. The
Hmm.
moment I have my layer, I want to go into mutalisks. But normally, there's so much going on with links and stuff that I think I'm always messing up spire timings, and that's why I'm dying to roaches.
Hmm.
And I always have the idea in mind: saturate your mineral lines, your gases, and then basically get the spire. And I often play against people who I don't know don't even have two base saturation and drop the spire earlier just to get it out.
Yeah.
That's probably what I'm dying with my roach pushes too. Is that even a correct
Mm.
sentence in English?
Yeah, no, I know what you mean. Yeah.
So and then if I mute us, I try to get a free buy setup. If he's playing Roach Lurker, I just play the game like that basically.
Mhm.
I'm trying to uh, get a lot of drones, like 80 drones against the muter against the Roach Hydra player with lurkers, and just try to bust up bases. Like you see it in pro games, basically. That's what I'm trying to copy. The idea seems nice, but I normally don't even get there.
So why don't you get there? Do you die to a lot of pull first builds, or
Mm,
do you die to
either
the first link flood, or
normally I die somewhere in the early game, like early game against the roach push when I'm getting my muters, and most of the games
Mhm.
end just because of the first Ling Bane stuff, and
Right?
that I don't really understand.
Hmm.
I always feel like I'm behind if I go on aggressive links and they have like 4 drones more mining, and if I do it, it feels the other way around. I think a lot of people have probably that feeling. If I do the stuff that my enemies are doing, it doesn't work. I
Hmm.
mean, I'm not practiced in doing it. That's always a thing, but
Yeah, that's always the thing, right?
just just doesn't feel right. I
Hmm.
I'm
Mm-hmm.
bad at explaining stuff like that.
Yeah.
Uh,
So this could be a lot of things, right? So,
yeah. So
but I'm really trying to dig into why you're feeling.
I like to go mutas because mutas give me the opportunity to. I think mutas are strong. I think mutas are
Mm-hmm.
way stronger than any roach style. The muta player can do whatever he wants because he has map control, and I
Mm-hmm.
really like that about the game. Because if I'm like stuck on roach, queen, spores, I always feel like, oh, there's no spore, and now I'm losing this and that, and that just feels bad. So I'm really want to go into mutas.
Yeah.
But I'm unable to. Sometimes I see people like going super fast hive, and I'm like, how can I even punish this? It's if if I try doing that against a muted player, I'm dying before my hive is even done, and I just can't figure it out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I'm really unable to be specific on that one.
Yeah. Well, that's kind of a replay thing, right? Yeah. During the
Yeah.
game, you.
And then I look at the replays, I'm like, oh, I'm floating 700 minerals here. Why are we watching this? And it's uh,
Yeah. So,
uh,
I think trying to do tree based meta is fine. Do you have any players that you watch that uh try to do that same style? To me,
um,
I
I
think
mean,
Dark does it quite a bit. He goes
yeah,
like
I'm
super
probably
early layers.
it's like I only probably only watch like Dark, Reina, and Serral for builds because they seem
Yeah,
the most optimized. I don't really like Reina for builds because he's just
he's all over the
how do you
place.
say it? His game works because he's Reina. You know, they seem always so messed up and hyper aggressive and random
Hmm.
that it's most of the time not a good style to copy, in my opinion. That's why I like Sarah quite a lot because it's cleaner and Dark is more like Reina, in my opinion.
Hmm.
And Dark is very greedy sometimes and pulls the stuff off that I mean, I couldn't pull off probably. So Cyril is probably the most
Hmm.
standard guy and best guy to copy build orders from, in my opinion, because
Right.
the games are more macro oriented and more standard.
Yeah, but Cyril plays. He's so good that he can play certain
Yeah,
styles in CVZ,
true.
especially where a laser, for example, will just take some risks. And not that the
I
laser is a bad player by any means. He's amazingly good, but he plays more, I would say, abusive. And so
yeah,
trying to play like Cyril is like you're really taxing your own mechanical skill, and
yeah,
you have to be prepared to just lose games because you didn't have quite enough drones, queens in the right position, sport didn't finish in time, didn't get the scouting just right. Like uh, a lot of like the roach pushes, right? Like
yeah,
if you're a god, then that roach push just kind of washes up against your spine wall, and you're like, oh, I just won the game, thank you. But the first 15, 20 times, those roach pushes are going to kill you because your spire was 5 seconds late, you started your meters 10 seconds late, and that's because of that you couldn't hit the roaches before they hit at your natural. And suddenly you win or you lose, and maybe you didn't see it in time, so you didn't get an Evo chamber up, and like it's all those small things that really add up, especially in trying to play such a, I would say, courageous, tight CVZ style where you try to be macro focused.
yeah.
Um,
I mean, I always looked up to like all my favorite players are probably considered at some point like macro machines. I looked up to like Innovation, Lozira, like I think Kangho was his alternate name,
mhm,
Lozira.
yeah,
I even liked Idra back in the day, not because of his personality, but just of his general idea of the game. I just
yeah,
want to be a good macro player, defend all the shit that gets thrown to me, and like defend it. And that's basically what got Cyril so good.
definitely,
Like
yes.
I'm just playing the better standard game, and it always felt to me like this is what I want to do. I mean,
Hmm.
I don't care what you are doing. I'm gonna analyze it and I'm gonna beat it because
Hmm.
my general idea is better, and that's what I try to do since 10 years.
I mean, I was the same for most of it until Legacy came out. And that kind of tripped me up. I didn't like the way the game felt, and I was like, "Fuck it, I'm a cheeser now." And I just started going ham, dude. Nidus is everywhere, baneling busts. And I felt so dirty. I didn't shower for a week. It was, whew. And now I kind of do both. It's I thought it
That's
was
probably a
liberating,
healthy
but
way to do it.
yeah, because I'm still
Because on
like
in games,
I would say a late game god. Like I'm pretty good at the late game, but I just don't get there in the same ways or quite as often. But
yeah.
talking about you, um, what kind of metrics do you use to determine for yourself if you played a good game? Or because you mentioned that you kind of get angry or disappointed.
Yeah.
So, but is winning the game the only metric that you use, or is there smaller goals?
No, definitely. There are smaller goals. Mostly the feel of the game in general.
Mhm.
If I play a long macro game where I feel like it was really fair, I don't even know how you considered it, but where I feel like,
Yeah,
oh
just back
hell,
and forth.
we are closely matched and we had a lot of stuff going on at 6, 7, 8 bases. That's fun. And if I lose that, I'm normally all right with it.
Mhm.
Um, for example, if you watch like a recent ZVT in any kind of tournament and you see like the Zerg having creep over half the map, 7, 8 bases, playing against a 5 base Terran and then losing at the end,
Mhm.
normally that's a game that I consider good. If I play a game like that where the whole map is full of creep, I attack here, I try to attack there, he defends it, that feels good, even if I lose. So
Mhm.
what I don't really like feeling is the feeling of I'm behind all game long. That's what you get if you play against like a super high
Mhm.
player. If I play against a 6K Terran,
Yeah.
happened a couple of weeks ago, and I just felt dead all game long, like from the first Reaper to the Hellions to the first push to, and then I was dead. So that really hurts. If I feel like I'm behind all game long and it's just snowballing out of control, I missed something in the early game, and now the push from the enemy is even stronger because I have less units. I clean up more inefficiently because I don't have enough units, and now the next push is even stronger because of that. He didn't
Yeah.
even change anything, but it's just spiraling out of control.
Mhm.
That's what I consider a bad game, and then I'm angry about it, even if I win or lose, because it's not fun, like playing the catch-up game all game long.
Yeah, I definitely get that. I was gonna use ZVT as an example because I really relate to the frustration, especially when I try to get back into the game. I don't know if you agree, but ZVT is very mechanically focused, right? Like
Yeah, yeah,
it's all about just having more stuff, being in the right position. It's not like Protoss where you can just kind of meme on them, or Zerg versus Zerg where you can just accidentally win with like a round of links.
yeah,
Versus Terran is very mechanically focused. So when I usually get back into the game, I cry myself to sleep after playing versus Terran because they just make so much stuff. And my creep is not good, and I missed my injects, and the Hellions ran by, and then my all my Banelings died to this one mine, and then like everything just kind of spirals out of control, right? And that feeling is kind of that's what I think about when you say I'm playing the catch-up game, and
yeah.
that's not fun because you're just
ZVT is a very good example for
yeah.
that.
Yeah, exactly. And I really relate to that, and that's why I want to say that in that matchup specifically, it's even more important to have those small benchmarks that you can look at from game to game and even week to week. Be like, oh, I totally fucked up the whole game, but I did this one thing better, or this thing, because that will lead to better results in the future, right?
Yeah,
And we all know long term versus short term, blah 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 blah. But I think those small things in ZVT, especially, like, oh, I didn't lose a ling this time, and then I got my third down right at the exact moment, not 10 seconds late, 20 seconds late, which is one of the mistakes that I make. I didn't allow the Hellion run by to go through this time. I got my creep out all the way to my fourth before I took it, which is fucking insane, by the way. If you can do that, I am very impressed. Or I spotted the Liberator. Maybe I still died to it, but at least I spotted it this time. Like the small wins, I think really help your mindset in ZVT especially, because ZVT is so it's like it's macro heaven, but you can die to all the small things, and then yes, it starts snowballing. But once you start doing all of those small things correctly, it kind of clicks, right?
yeah,
And then suddenly it feels amazing. But before you get there, you need to like make sure that every small knob or small factor is just right. And I think getting each of those things just right is already important. It's kind of like a music piece, right? Like you need to play all of it, but if you can do the first 10 notes well, and then the first 12 nodes. Like noticing that you did the next 2 nodes well and just really, yeah, kind of congratulating yourself or just being happy with those will help you kind of build up strength to eventually stand up to the stronger macro Terrans and not let it spiral out of control. And then we can always talk about strategy after, like, okay, but there's gonna be games where I'm behind. What do I do? Right? Just macro more. That's not always the answer, but that's more of a strategy thing, I would say. But
Agreed.
what do you think about that?
No, it's probably a really very, very nice description of the matchup, but also of the concept. What you basically should focus on and whatnot. I mean, you can win with a lot of stuff in ZVT. Like you have a lot of different unit compositions you might be able to play, and it also always comes down to, or at least most of the time, to there are no really precise all-ins. I'm very happy about Terran all-ins being bad, besides proxy racks and stuff like that. But that also that's a nice thing for me because it kind of fits my playstyle. Like at least those are the games that I really enjoy. Like
Yeah.
having more stuff, and I don't really know how to elaborate onto your question. It just
Yeah, I'm just curious to how do you feel about it now? Like, is there maybe looking at the time, is there anything specific that you want to look at or go through?
how do I say that? Most of my ZVTs get decided probably in the first 8 minutes, first 7 minutes. Normally, it's like, how good did I defend the Hellion Liberator, Banshee, whatever, or Battle Cruiser, and how strong is the next Marine tank push?
Yeah.
Let's just say that happens quite a lot. Like that's at least what most Terrans are doing at some point.
That's basically how my games look. So
yeah, and that's like I very frequently against good Terrans, I lose against the first tank push. That it's just a couple of Marines and like 2 tanks, because my early game before that gets so thrown off through all the harass and stuff like that that I'm not able to get the game further. If I defend that thing, that's where the game starts with, like, I have 7 bases, half the map is on creep, and I can try to be aggressive and stuff like that. So my biggest weakness is probably just cleaning up the first 7 minutes of the game and not dying to the first tank push.
Okay, so that's a clear problem. What do you want from me?
What how do I say this? What I sometimes really wish I would have is, like, during my games, having a voice that kind of clears up my mind, because I'm getting flustered and confused. Like, where do I place my units right now? Where do I and that's where the things normally go wrong, and I feel a little bit overwhelmed, and I don't. I think I'm unable to fix that on my own. I think I don't really lack that much game knowledge, to be honest. If I analyze my replay and I see floats and mistakes happening, I'm always like, yeah, I mean, I can see the problem, or I'm just not taking my gas and I'm dying later on because I lack of gas for banelings. I'm like, yeah, I could have fixed that, but how do I fix that in the game? And that's stuff I can't really figure out. And
Yeah,
honestly, I don't know how to fix.
That's a 5K plus problem, I would say, where it's not because you're forgetting the gas, it's because your opponent is making you forget the gas.
Yeah, it's always just happen. Like, okay, at least like 90% of the time it's happening because something is going on and I'm just messing it up. If I play a custom game, I'm also forgetting stuff here and there, but it's normally not that bad because all the other stuff is so clean that it's not gonna hurt me.
Yeah.
In real games, it's always I get thrown off, and then my mind is like everywhere. But I'm really unable to get back to, okay, take a deep breath. Now we have to do this macro cycle, back to it again, and then I'm seeing my money going down, and I can relax a lot more. It's a lot about tensing up and being like, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit, and that's not good.
Yeah. So I have a couple of thoughts about that. So one is
Yeah,
just experience.
yeah,
You have to experience those moments time and time again, and then you'll get kind of used to it, or at least it will become familiar. And then I have two questions. What are your uh, how does your why does your game plan not work? Why can't you summon it, as it were? Like, why if you're confused, why can't you just go back to your game plan and be like, "Oh, this was my plan. I'm gonna try and go back to it." And thirdly, do you have any contingency plans? Is there any kind of um, things that you know you should focus on if you're, um, for example, floating money? The most, I think every pro or whatever will say, just throw down a macro hedge, dude. Just throw it
yeah,
down.
yeah.
Like, which I think that's that's good advice. But do you have those type of things in place, or do you think about that? Because I
Um,
have that for just a small example, and then I'll
yeah,
allow you to
yeah,
talk. Is when I am very stressed about those Terran attacks that just keep pummeling me, I panic as well. But my panic reaction is take all of my links, send them to his natural and third, like because I want to make it hard on him as well. If that makes
yeah,
sense. Because
yeah,
I'm just like, okay, if he gets to focus all of his attention on this attack and he already has more units, I'm just
yeah.
dead. So I'm just gonna make 20 banelings, hope that he like gets distracted, and then maybe I get some good hits, and then maybe I can kind of finesse myself back into the game. So that's kind of one of my like panic options, I would say.
That won me. Stuff like this definitely won me a couple of games.
Yeah, it's really
uh,
strong.
yeah, it's. I mean, the big thing is, It's always so different. There's no. It's always so different on what is happening. The first panic reaction, if I see a thing, if I for example, I did not scout the BC opening. He has
Hmm.
double starport BC, and he's just teleporting into my base. In that moment, all your plans that you had are like fucked up. And then I'm
Yep.
like, okay, get your queens together, place a spore everywhere. Oh shit, Hellions are also coming in. Then I,
Hmm.
of course, in that moment, I really need to defend properly. But like from there, getting the first thing I would like to do is like, okay, now I need to build some overlords, get that uh, energy on the queens down.
Yeah.
And normally, I don't feel like I'm dying because of creep spread. I'm normally dying because I haven't injected in ZVT. I'm like very ZVT specific right now.
Can we trade?
Uh,
I I can't spread creep for the life of me.
I wouldn't consider myself a good creep spreader, but I don't really feel like I'm dying because of the lack of creep spread
Right.
most of the
Makes
time.
sense.
Like, so I don't really see an. I mean, I don't want to say I don't see an issue there. There's always an issue, but
Yeah, there's always.
I'm not that angry about it because I don't think I
Yeah.
lost a lot of games because I would not have any
Hmm.
kind of creep spread.
Yeah. Well, it kind of comes back to the mental game of poker. Also talks about it. Your C game, identifying the things that hold you back the most and improving those first allow you to
Yeah.
kind of move up your C game, and then also because of that, your A game can improve. Um, if you see
If
yourself as
I'm
kind of a worm,
yeah,
can you picture a worm for me?
yeah, I
And
do,
then
I do.
the front is your A game, and the back is your C game, and the middle is the B game. Now you can squeeze the worm uh, together,
Yeah,
like the C game towards the A game, and then you can extend it again, and then the A game is a lot further away, right? But you can
yeah,
also stretch it a little bit, but eventually you can't stretch it any further. So your A game is being held hostage by your C game. You can
yeah,
never play better than your C game up to a certain point. So that's why fixing your worst mistakes um, is kind of yeah, most pivotal.
definitely.
And that's I think you analyzed that very correctly, but I just want to make sure that you understand that that you're right, right? You're correct about I need to fix my injects and I need to or at least make sure that I keep doing the injects because those are losing me the game. It's not that I didn't scout the battle cruisers; it's because of my injects.
I I mean, I don't really know anything about coaching. I'm like I've coached I mean, I'm coaching myself like friends like in
Hmm.
gold league, silver, bronze league, just getting into the game because I'm
Yeah.
that's where I'm really relaxed and I try to get people for the basics and stuff like that.
Hmm.
So that's what I know about. Like at my point, I think I know a lot of problems, but what is the best way going on to them? Every day, half an hour practicing macro cycles like inject, creep spread, overlords, and just getting a clean, for example, ZVT build out, and then
Mhm.
hitting ladder, for example. That seems to be one of those things I might be doing to fix the big standard thing.
Yeah.
And the other thing that I'm really missing is like I'm playing a game and I need like a an emergency hotline, somebody that I call right into the game, like, hey, this is going on. What am I supposed to do right now?
Yeah. Well,
Just to
that's
get my
your you can call yourself. You can call your past self.
yeah.
Be like,
That
okay,
doesn't
all
normally
of my
work. It's like
experience of the last 10 years of playing StarCraft guide me. And if it doesn't work, guess we'll have to fix that. Guess we have to improve. Guess we have to learn. But trusting yourself there is, I think, very very important.
it's I just don't know where to start. I really don't know where to
I'm
start.
gonna be very very annoying here and say just start with the
But
thing that for you pops into your mind because your unconscious mind is fucking brilliant and it already knows what's bothering you the most. Just pick the thing that you think, oh, that my game looks so ugly because I don't fix this.
yeah,
I think that whatever it is it your injects, is it your creep spread, is it like maybe it's the way you micro a certain army. I don't really care. Maybe it's your overlord spread. I know mine is terrible. Those things you'll have the motivation to fix them, and once you fix them, it's a problem gone, right? It's a job well done.
yeah, but
You've
how do you
improved
go
a
at
little
it?
bit.
I mean, like, if I know I'm frequently getting supply blocked at
Mm-hmm.
different points in the game, like
Yeah.
not even the like 32 overlord or something like 36 overlord or something like that. Just random supply blocks all over the game. I go into
Mm-hmm.
the game and then I'm just like trying to keep in my mind, don't get supply blocked, don't get supply blocked, don't get supply blocked, and just play my normal game with that in mind. That did not seem to work, to be honest.
No, it doesn't work for me either.
And then I'm
uh,
like, okay, what am I going to do now?
yeah,
I,
I think those are one of those things that I try to take them a little bit more long term because it's harder to fix that. Like you can't really decide, okay, I need to build this wall better, right? You can't do that
yeah,
with overlords. You can't build overlords better. It's just, well, you just have to not forget. That's very different. Like a
yeah,
Protoss wall, you can completely mathematically conclude that this is the perfect wall, I think. Right? But you can't do that with all the overlords that you have to build. Um, for me, it is a lot about seeing the um, what do you say? Sorry, I got distracted a little bit. My cat just came into the room, and she's way too cute. But it's about the patterns. Like, when am I forgetting overlords? So, stupid example. When I play Roach, I'm always supply blocked. Basically, always. So,
yeah.
and that's a
I can
pattern that I
relate.
recognize. And like, oh, like I don't do it consciously. I'm just like, oh, it's mech, so I throw down a Roach Warren. I try to make a bunch of roaches because of Hellions always run by. I'm like, shit, supply blocked again. And I just kind of note that down. I'm like, okay, I got supply block because I was trying to go roaches, and then I just go on with my day. It's not about fixing the not being supply, there being supply blocked. It's about seeing the patterns that lead to supply blocks more often, and
But
that gives you something to fix, right? Because fixing the I don't want to be supply blocked is too big. Do you agree with
yeah,
that?
yeah,
Yeah.
no. But it's like, what is the solution? Just playing a lot of games? Because like just spamming games did not really seem to help. Even if I go into the game with the mindset, okay, I have to keep that in mind. This
Yeah.
is going to happen. Because the moment something is happening, it's gone. It's not there anymore. I don't
Well,
want to lie to
how are you
myself.
measuring this? Is my question.
I realized the moment, for example, like ZVT, the Hellions run by, and that moment everything is gone. Everything is just focused on the Hellions. And after everything is settled and done, 20
Mm-hmm.
drones died, Hellions clean up. I'm like at 15 drones against the Terran, and then I'm like, okay, I'm trying to get back into the game. All right, Queens, so much energy. Oh, supply blocked again. And I'm like, I wanted to think about that, but the moment all
Yeah.
this stuff is happening, it's gone. And
Mm-hmm.
normally I only realize it after I'm back into the nothing is happening zone. I can think. And then it's like,
Yeah.
okay, now it's delaying. Thanks for
Mm-hmm.
nothing. It's
Now, well, there's a couple of ways of going about this. Like, especially when you're panicking and that's causing your supply blocks more often than not, then you have to try and train that reflex, that response, right? Like, just try to. Your goal shouldn't be okay. Don't be supply block. Think about my supply blocks. Just be when I am stressed or when I get thrown off, I should do this, this, and this. And the first 10 times, you really have to like pause for a second, be like fucking losing this game. I'm stressed, and then you have to grab yourself and be like, what do I do now? And then you look at the post-it underneath your monitor, or I don't care how you remember, but your panic reaction should become inject, make overlords, because that also gives you time to think, because it's just your hands doing stuff, and it's always going to help you survive, right?
Yeah.
Injecting and making overlords is almost never going to lose you the game unless you already have enough overlords and you really need units or something.
Yeah.
And I think that's something you could work on, and that makes it more of a smarter goal, right? Like more measurable, more attainable as well. Also, if you say, yeah, I'm always missing injects, I don't know, and I'm also getting supply blocked, those goals are too vague, and you can't fix those, and then you can never be happy. You can never tell yourself good job. You get supply blocked less, because you're always going to get supply blocked in this game. Like,
there's a lot of truth in there, but it hurts hearing.
Yeah, you're gonna have a bad day. Someone is gonna be hunting your overlords. Like, there's one Terran that just builds his barracks in the natural and makes a marine, and you're like, this motherfucker, you're not making a reaper? Are you kidding me? And then, like, the game can snowball from there.
I can relate.
Yeah. It's a truthful anecdotal evidence.
So like, for example, I have a second monitor and I've build orders written on there. If I'm learning a new build or stuff like that, I normally have it open on my left monitor. Or if I realize, for example, the Protoss build I told you about, like the lurker range timing. Sometimes if I feel like I played against two Protoss player and I got to the point where I really used the build and I was like, hey, this one was late because I missed Hyderden was 20 seconds late, Infestation Pit was 15 seconds late, and it all added up a little bit. Then I open the build again to get back to it, like look at it again to just next game I'm now looking again at the monitor. I mean, it's always a little bit better if I don't have to do that, because then I'm more immersed into the game. That's what I meant with like the first 3 games I can still see the pictures on my walls and my desk, and after 3 games I'm in there.
Right. So I have a question. Do you is it easy for you to remember build orders and stuff, or
if I'm not playing in general, yes. Like, remembering it is easy. The moment I play and stuff is happening, then I'm forgetting the stuff.
I'm so jealous, dude. Because that's actually one of the key ways that I learn my build orders. Because that's you just mini quiz yourself basically. You just self quiz. I do this on stream every week when I try to perform or learn my build orders. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna do today. I want to do the 3 base 9 roach from Lambo made a video recently, and I play a lot of 2 base meta, so I was like, I need to learn that build. That makes my repertoire so much better. And then what I do is I sit down and I grab my Excel sheet and I'm like, okay, this is my build order. And then I look at my ceiling and I'm like, okay, what is the build order? Before I read it, I'm like, can I still jog my memory? And if I can, then I'm like, wow, it's still in there. But the moments I'm like, what's next? That's where the learning is done, and that's you're really it's super annoying. Oh my god, I hate myself every time I do it, but it's just it's like, you know, from middle school where you just reread your notes. That's super inefficient, and that stuff doesn't work. Like, actually self-quizzing helps a lot with remembering the build orders, and that's why I play a lot against bots, also because I don't play a lot. So I kind of do what you did in Spain. I play a couple hours, and I make sure that those hours are high quality. And then I feel like, I don't know, this is just talking about me, I'm so sorry, but I feel like if I do the build versus a computer, then I kind of know how it feels, and then I can do it against an opponent, and I know when I'm doing it wrong because it doesn't feel right anymore.
No, it's a lot about feeling in general. Basically, I mean, if a game just flows, like it, you know, it just goes on. That's what I meant with like the ZVT thing. You have the whole map is on creep, and the Terran can't really move out, and you know, I can spread creep here, defender drop here, and it just works. It works for the Terran as well. He's attacking here, he's attacking here, he's attacking here, but it just feels like that's how it's supposed to be played. Uh,
Yeah.
uh, that's a very nice feeling, and that's what I'm always aiming for. And then I'm always happy about the games most of the time. It starts feeling bad when you don't have that feeling anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. I know exactly what you mean. So I wanna go back to your game plan and
Yeah.
yeah, staying focused on it.
Mhm.
How do you define your own game plan, and how do you use it when you're playing? So you say that you're freestyling a lot, but so I kind of want you to define for me. Just take one of your matchups and tell me what's the plan. Like, let's not take CVP
Yeah.
because that one seemed
Yeah.
already pretty good.
Yeah, if I take ZBT for an example, because it's a little
Yes.
bit easier to elaborate on than ZBZ,
Yeah, agree.
it's most of the time I think they call it the clash opening, like
The Clash opener, yeah.
get my third before the Reaper arrives, stuff like that, and then normally that's the first point where I'm always insecure and I always mix it up every game and I don't like it.
Mm-hmm.
How many queens do I build for an example? That's the first thing, and the other thing is when do I get my baneling nest and gases?
Mm-hmm.
Because normally what my goal is right now is play four gas Ling Bane. 4 gas Ling
Okay.
Bane,
Yes.
defend the first aggression with like 60 drones. If I defend it, I go up to like, I don't know, 88, drop more gases, get Hive, lurk it, and play from there. That's the concept I have in mind.
Okay. So,
And
and
normally the
what's your
early,
late game? It's lurkers, you said, right?
yeah,
Lurkers.
yeah.
Do you use Nidus? Yes, no.
No, not yet, but
Not yet.
I
Yeah.
need to start using them because I had a really hard time yesterday. I asked in a Discord, like Lambo's Discord, about it.
Mhm.
I had a really hard time killing a Terran. It was like 500 MMR below me, and I had like the whole map, and I couldn't crush him on 4 or 5 bases. I
Yeah.
was just running stuff, and I was like, this is way too hard finishing this game. So
Yeah.
I think
I know
I
that
will.
feeling. Like turtle bio with ghost. I'm like, what do I
I'm like,
do?
it feels so busted. I was like
Yeah.
running in like my lurkers, and he's just couple of tanks sniping everything, and I'm like, what? How does this even work? And my army
Yeah.
is gone. I'm like, that's not fair. And uh, uh,
Yeah.
but like normally I try to be like saturate all mineral lines, get 3 more gases. If
Mhm.
I feel like aggression is coming, for example, I drop. That's a hard thing to define. How do I know aggression is coming? But if I
Yeah.
feel like aggression is coming, I'm dropping like a 415 baneling nest and second gas.
So
That's normally what I do.
let's rewind a bit. Like, how do I
Yeah.
know aggression is coming? Um, how do you try to define that right now? What are your actions for?
Normally overlord scouting doesn't seem to work. Every time I'm like, I want to send my overlord in. There's already a Viking there and it's killing it. I
Mhm.
normally have the overlord close to the natural. If I see quick depots down at the second base, I
Mhm.
assume it's a 2 base play like Hellbats because there's no third CC in the
Oh,
main.
that's really smart. I didn't think of
That,
that.
that's what I normally try to do, because I'm like, if he does not need to build supply depots on
Yeah.
his natural, that means where is he getting his supply from? Normally it's the third command center.
Right.
If I miss
That's
scout
big
that,
brain.
like if that doesn't work, if I'm like, if he's still Hellbat pushing me with a stupid thing, I'm like, I need to
Mhm.
check the replay. But in general, I would say depot wall or no depot wall. If there's a depot wall, very quickly, I'm putting down a bailing nest and getting like 2 more queens, something like that.
Right.
Uh, and that's basically it. And I try to get a lot of vision with my overlords, and sometimes do the Hellions feel quick? Do they feel slow? Stuff like that.
Mhm.
If I see like 8 Hellions, I'm already like on alert, probably dropping the bending nest, because I'm like, that's a lot of Hellions. If I see
Yeah.
10, I'm like, then I'm in panic mode.
Yeah. 10 is suspicious. You're like, is this mech? Is this a Hellbat all in?
Yeah.
Oh. Is this like a Hellbat battle cruiser, Hellbat Banshee, Hellbat Marine? I'm so scared. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
I know how you feel. Or it's Cyclone and then you just cry.
What I always forget, that's something I really need to write down, is my lair is done, I send a fucking overseer in, because I lose so many games
Mm,
because I don't have a follow-up scout the moment my lair is done. I'm scouting in the early game, and
yeah.
then I check my replays. A lot of replays you will see me not checking ever again
Yeah.
uh,
No, I do
after
the
that.
same. I'm super guilty of that as well. I guess I don't know. I just kind of soothe myself. I'm like, it's okay. You don't have to scout. You're cheesy, so just... they need to scout you. It's fine.
No, that's what makes steroids so good. Like getting all
Yeah.
those
Oh my
links in.
god. He's
Every time the layer is done, there's a fucking overseer in the enemy
yeah,
base.
yeah, really.
And
But those are the small things that if you did them
yeah,
and you still died to the build, doesn't matter. You
yeah,
did scout for it, and next time you're gonna be 5 seconds faster to react to it
yeah,
because the first time you
yeah.
see the fusion core, the armory, 2 factories, and a starport, you're like, what the fuck? What? And then the second time you're like, wait, I've seen this before. And then you know,
Yeah,
oh, there's gonna be a battlecruiser in my main, and there's gonna be like 5 hellbats at my third. For some reason, there's also a liberator, but now I'm ready. Like,
honestly, I think I need to play more games in
I
general.
mean,
Like
the answer is always
I
play
don't
more
think I need
games,
to.
but we can play more. We can play smarter, right? We can
Yeah,
use
it's like
those games played more
if you don't play
efficiently.
enough games, you don't see it often enough, and then the thing happens with like what I said with the proxy zealots. I mean, I know how to react. I played it like 50 games ago. Now it's happening again, and it
Yeah.
was so long ago that I can't react properly. I think we are
Mhm.
always the best at the stuff we play frequently. So
So
most of the
definitely,
time,
definitely.
the
But
marine tank push.
those small things like gateways and stuff.
Yeah,
You if that's something that's really throwing you off, just in a fit of rage, you should just get a Protoss practice partner, just do it 10 times, and you'll just never lose to it again because you'll realize how bad the build is actually.
yeah,
But I mean, that's easy, right? Easy fix for a very specific problem.
yeah,
Now, I want to go back to your game plan a little bit because I want to like operationalize it a little bit for you to
yeah,
use when you're playing. So you
yeah.
have a pretty comprehensive game plan versus Terran, I feel like. Um, so how do you can you summarize it in one sentence that makes sense to you? What is kind of the feeling you're going for, or what? Because I need you to be able to tell yourself in the game in one sentence what your plan was. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it's a hard question.
It's very hard. But I really like metaphors, so I always go for like, how does that feel? How does it feel?
I wanna. Have you watched Pig StarCraft? Like, I think I
Oh
watched
yeah,
his
yeah,
tutorials like to
yeah.
16, 17 quite a lot, or 18 even.
Hmm.
And I don't know if he said it or if it was a German coach I had back in 212. It's like playing like a spider,
Oh,
like
that
having
sounds
such a
interesting.
big like spider web of creep, and every time the opponent steps on your creep, you're like jumping on him because it's your prey, and that's kind of
Wow,
what
wow,
I
that's so cool.
I want to be. I want to be the fucking spider that expands over the web all over the map, like creep spreading in all
Yeah,
directions. And the moment the enemy comes, I just want to jump on it and crush it, and then go back,
that's great.
macro up
I think
again.
that's really strong. I think
I
I would really try to challenge you, and when you get into a position where you don't know what's happening, just be like, I'm a spider. Just just go spider mode.
that would help because it would at least include creep spread.
Yeah,
So I need
but
to
just
get the thing
you
on
don't have
that.
to picture like yourself saying it. Just picture
Yeah,
a pig saying it.
yeah, that's
Um,
nice. I like it. I like it.
just be like, be the spider, and just go into spider mode.
Yeah, I mean, if it sounds like a reasonable plan, it always sounded to me because that's what I think is Zerg and my playstyle in general, like what it's about, like
Mm,
being the big force on creep, like swarm the opponent with just more stuff because I do it better. I mean, that's what I want to do, and
yeah,
it kind of fits that.
I feel like Zerg is a little bit like China. It's like slowly growing. You don't really want to deal with it, but if you let it get out of hand, then
Swallow it.
um, but yeah, looking at the time, like, is there anything specific, like a game you want to look at, or anything? Like, do you feel like we've been answering your question, or is there something that itches? Because now is really the time.
No, I was really enjoying it overall. I don't think I have any useful replays right now with like
Hmm.
specific questions. Um, is it the only thing? Mm, I'll give you a game. I'll give you a game.
Yes. Okay. Let me put it up.
I don't think I want to watch it to be honest, but I think I have a game.
Bikabor asked, "Who is this handsome German guy?" By the way, he asked it a while
Yeah,
ago.
it's a friend of mine. I shared a stream, so you get some more
Right.
viewers.
Okay, that's nice of you. Thank you.
It's like
Yeah,
He's
I
memeing a
didn't
little
read it
bit
earlier
sometimes.
because I didn't want to distract us. But
No. I know.
okay. If you can join like the chat channel, it's just called Rayquiz. Then I'll be in there.
Okay,
We can.
okay, wait. I'll figure it out. Like that.
Ah, there you
I
are.
think I'm in there.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm in there.
Okay. And then you can invite me to a party, and we. Okay.
Step it up. Give me 1 second.
No worries.
Let's see. I'm just started. Do you want to have lead to take control of the replay? I mean, because right now I'm because
yeah, I can follow your camera. You can follow mine.
Okay.
Oh, you have the Rainer portrait. I'm so glad they gave him his own portrait, man.
But you have it as well. If you.
Yeah, I have it. I have it. I just don't use it because I don't know.
I was really enjoying it, picking a new portrait once in a while.
Yeah. No, I've been using the same since the Heart of the Swarm beta, and I'm like, I just like the Viper one.
Ah, okay, yeah. No, I think I like using the Diablo Marine, like the burning one from the collector's edition.
Oh, I don't have that one, but it's cool.
The favorite portrait I'm missing is the Mamba Marine from the 2013 WCS Korea.
Yeah.
That's a sick one. Yeah, what I'm normally doing here is I have my Overlord at my second base, right here, the second Overlord, before my second base against bunker rushes. Then I basically replace it with my third Overlord, and the second one goes in front of my third base normally.
Right. How do I follow your thing?
I don't know.
I
think you can only work if you
only the players. Huh, kind of weird.
You can, if you press double tap 1 or double tap 2, you can follow the player cam in game.
Yeah.
Then you only see my vision.
I can't follow your current observer.
Thing, no, that doesn't work. Do you want to switch? Just restart and you take control?
No, it's okay.
Okay.
As long as you specifically say what we're looking at, it's fine.
Yeah, okay. He was doing a Hellbat push. I just want to see it like 4 minutes what I'm doing.
My God. So, damn, this wall, like, that's... I would think immediately, okay, this is mech wall.
Yeah?
Yeah, just this...
I mean, yeah, because he does not have any add-ons, right?
No add-on on this barracks in the wall, like...
Honestly, I did not even look at it. I was just, I mean, right now, he was building his CC in the main base, and I did not even realize it because I did not scout for it. I just assumed there's a CC there.
Yeah.
I did not look at it. Right now, I don't know. What am I doing? I'm building links because I think it's a standard Hellion opener.
Yeah.
Like, normally, like around 4 minutes, something like that, I try to build my links.
Yeah, good droning as well.
And right now, I'm building more... Yeah, I think I was a little bit insecure, and that's why I was dropping like Baneling Nest and Gas right now, because it seemed weird to me. I think I looked at a wall. How many queens do I have?
I mean, one thing, if you pause, like you don't see a third base right now. Not that you scouted for it, but that's one of those things when there's no Hellions in your face.
Yeah.
I would send like one link to each third base. And maybe throw in an Overlord if you have it, and just kind of try to get a feel, because if you're trying to blindly defend against everything, so you have Spores right now because you don't know if it's Banshee or Battlecruiser or whatever. You got the Baneling Nest because you don't know if it's going to be Hellbat, or it could be 2-base Marine, right?
Yeah.
Even though if you see the wall, it's probably not. But if this was 2 racks, 2-1-1, I think it's 2-1-1, right? That would hit like, what is it, 15 seconds ago, 20 seconds ago, and you'd probably be dead. Because you don't have the lings, and you're just kind of... Well, you did see some Hellions, so... But, you know...
Like against 2-on-1, I'm very, very, very confident, because it's normally relatively easy to scout, and I have I think I have a very good response against 2-on-1.
Yeah. It's an old build.
The thing is, right, I'll go a little bit back. I'm placing down this Baneling Nest because I'm like insecure. The stupid thing about the Baneling Nest is I think I don't need it right now. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but this Baneling Nest is too late against any kind of Hellbat push, and it's too early. So it's just useless, basically. I think the proper response right now, if I'm like, okay, it's 4:45, is just go for more queens.
More queens, maybe even a spine crawler. that you can cancel, but yeah, I'm a big proponent of just making a baneling nest earlier. I do it blindly, but that's
Yeah.
just my style. I think yours is more optimal in the end.
Yeah.
But
I mean,
to be able to do that, you should be a bit more. What a weird guy. His cloak is just finishing, and he's just like, nah. This Banshee's in the push.
no, it's. I mean,
So confusing.
I always feel I feel very confident about my idea about how to go at the game. Like you see my overlords in front of my creep. The moment the creep gets
That's
there,
great.
I pull them
that's
back.
really good.
And right now, I think this is where shit starts to go wrong. I'm at 77 out of 82. I see those Hellions. I just want to watch my character because I'm getting into a huge supply block right now.
Yeah, I think like you're in such a nice position. Like you have all the drones.
Yeah.
If you knew that he didn't have a third base landed, you would super defend this, right? You would throw down 2 spines, pull all your queens, like and pull away the drones whenever, because you know you're so ahead.
It's like, I mean, right now, I mean, look, I'm like floating 1,500 minerals.
You're making 8 drones.
Yeah, because I felt like right now I was like 8 drones because I defended it. That was like,
that's great.
Drones.
Like,
but
that's so strong. Like, a lot of players would be afraid and make more units, but you correctly see that you don't need them. His gases are also so late for mech.
Yeah, but right now I pulled all the queens in front. I did not rebuild them immediately in the fight because I was supply blocked. I couldn't, and now I'm like lacking the injects. And now he has this fucking Banshee there on my queen's side, and I was so confused at that point because I was like, fuck. Yeah. I was really angry because I knew I saw those minerals and I knew I can't get them down because queens are not here. Queens are still building. Now I have a queen.
And there come the double hatch.
Yeah, because I was like, get this money.
Yeah.
Somehow a little bit
still, down. Like, you should be super ahead, right? Yeah. It's kind of getting even-ish now.
The funny thing is, he's just... That's where I got really mad in the game. And I mean, that's, again, a mindset thing. I'm going in a little bit faster. I can't get this money away. And I'm supply blocked at the same number again.
Right.
Okay. I mean, it was a little bit shorter this time, but... still not that great.
You're still in a nice position, right? It's like
if I can get my money low, but I mean it's kind of bad because I could have, if I would have kept the money down from the beginning, I would have like 20-30 more drones for like all this time basically.
Yeah.
So I'm hindering myself right now. I don't know it's mech, so that's why I go into 1+1+1.
Yeah, you're playing with like incomplete information for no reason.
And now
you do have some of the information. Like, you could have known it was mech. And that would help you already with a lot of... I mean, if you see this, you already know, okay, it's super mech, right? Like, there's no way.
Yeah, that's why I dropped the Rotron. I was like, why do we have Hellions again? In my opinion, what he's doing right now is, like, incredibly stupid. Because I defended it basically once. And if all those supply blocks would not have happened... Right now, I would already have a lot of units because my droning phase would already be done, if I can call it that way. So this push would basically run into an army. Because of the supply blocks, my own mistakes, I don't have this army yet. And instead of crushing it completely again, I'm like, And here I was like angry because I was like, fuck, it's so stupid. It's not supposed to work because, I mean, he's clumping everything.
Yeah.
And I'm playing with the minimal amount of units, and I'm at 80 supply. He's at 110 because I'm still floating the same amount since I don't know, since the start of the game.
Yeah.
And it feels so clutch, and it's not supposed to feel clutch.
Yeah. You should be in a way better spot than you are. Poor queen.
I can't even watch this.
I wonder in your vision, like, you don't even know if he has a third base, really?
No, I know nothing, because I was so focused on getting my money down. I was like, get your money down, get your money down.
Yeah.
Even that did not help.
What do you spend your money on is also helps a lot, right?
Yeah. Right now I'm like, okay, I need roaches, it's mech, but I need to get, like...
Yeah, this guy is in the most comfortable position ever right now.
Yeah, I mean, he can do whatever he wants, because he only has to look into his base, basically, just...
Yeah, just send armies across. Like he never even microed. He just kind of moved his he just kind of marched across, make next army.
I mean, right now we are like even supply, and that just hurts against mech.
Yeah.
I don't even have a Zerg power spike, and he's going to just straight up push me with like tanks, and I'm dead. He's just pushing onto creep, just walking on there, and killing me, and it felt really bad. But
Yeah.
now I'm getting.
When you watch this game, what's like your takeaway in this game? Because I feel very strongly about like getting 1 or 2 lessons from a game. Like, of course, there's 100 things that you do wrong.
Yeah.
But that's not very actionable. Just being like, I played bad, lol.
No,
like,
I mean, I don't really want to focus too much on all the stuff that happened because it's just, how do you say that in English? It's just a consequence of my actions before. It doesn't really matter how I microed the upcoming mech fight, like, because I have a shit amount of units because my early game was trash. So right now I could finish the replay. There's nothing more useful coming out of it, in my opinion.
Right.
I want to change the bending nest stuff because it's stupid and just build more queens. That's a habit I want to get in general, even versus Protoss. If I feel like there's something coming, queens are good.
Queens are definitely good.
They're very versatile. And if I feel like the building that I'm building, like a Roach Warren or a Bending Nest, is not coming out anyways, I know that in the moment I'm building it. I know it. And instead of being like, I'm going to place it down anyways, I'm also going to start more queens or not even place it down at all. Because I think that would have helped a lot in the push in the first one.
Right.
Having 4 or 5 more queens because the Bending Nest wasn't doing anything. And I think that would already have changed the game, in my opinion. And the other thing is scouting. I had no first scout, and right now my lair is done again, and I'm also not scouting because then I would have had the Roach Warren for the second push way earlier.
Yeah, I mean, if I look at your vision, you literally see a sensor tower, but you've never seen the base. Like that's kind of a yikes, right? And you're like, oh god, you're not in control of this game. You're not. Yeah, some stuff went wrong. But like, if you had to say like these 2 things would really have turned this game around, what are those? You said making more queens when you're uncertain.
Yeah, I think that would be a big thing because I think I would have held the push way easier, and then all the follow-up stuff might not have happened. I mean, I don't know, but I think it might help a lot getting rid of the confusion. Because if you're like, if I get again into a messy fight, I only have links because my Bailing Nest is not done and I have to micro a lot, that's when I get thrown off. And I want to get rid of situations. The less situations I have where I'm like, oh shit, the better I get. So queens are relatively a safe way to spend money that can defend multiple things and make my life easier in general. So I would like to rely more on that.
Okay, and let's try to get one more thing. Aside from making more queens, what else could have helped you this game so that it would have gone way more in your favor?
I don't know scouting, but besides the layer scout, I don't know how. I mean, like placing the links at the third.
Yeah.
To be honest, like knowing
let's think of a couple triggers.
Triggers?
Yeah, just think of a couple things. Like these Zelnaga scouts are very nice, for example.
Yeah.
But you said, for example, it felt weird that I didn't see the Hellions. That's a trigger, right? That's
yeah, right.
Can't move around for some reason. Whatever. But
what? No.
I don't know. I can't edge scroll for some reason. It doesn't really matter. But I think that's the important thing. What are the triggers for you to scout? What should be triggers that weren't triggers for you? So, for example, you haven't seen the Hellions at all. For me, that's a trigger to be like, okay, I need to scout for third bases. I need to scout for tech, like Hellbat, obviously. So for me, that would be a trigger to throw down the Bailing Nest if I haven't already, which is fine. Or make queens, that's also fine. But also, it's a scouting trigger.
Yeah.
And then especially if I haven't seen the third base yet, it's kind of like you're always trying to build a mental image of what your opponent is doing, right?
I mean, it sounds so logical, right? You don't know you don't know something, scout it.
Go look for it. Yeah.
but
you're also doing your own thing, so that's hard.
It's like, I mean, it sounds super obvious, but I mean, right now at 450, you can see my game plan, like with the overlords, the creep spread. I think I have a nice idea of what I want to do, but like obvious stuff, like I don't know what's going on in his base. I mean, I even have the overlord there.
Yeah,
And
you're super
I'm
comfy, but you're this close to completely destroying
yeah,
this guy.
it's
But that's why I'm pushing for like a small trigger. Like there's one thing that, or two things, three
yeah.
things that you can notice in the game that you already notice. Like, huh, this is kind of weird. But you should make it actionable.
Honestly, I think if I feel afraid in a game
Hmm.
and have to trigger just scout somehow, like if the moment
Yeah.
I feel afraid, I should be able to think, what can I do right now to get my information? Do links
Hmm.
work? Does an overseer work? Maybe, and
Yeah.
send stuff in. I think that would help my games in general quite a
Hmm.
lot.
Yeah. And
Uh,
ma- ma- I think the most important thing is maybe you won't win that game,
yeah,
but you'll definitely win like two games after when you've had this, huh, this is kind of weird again moment. I think
yeah,
that's the most powerful moment. You're like, this is weird again, but I've seen it before. And then like your thought process just goes way quicker. You're like, wait,
yeah, yeah,
I don't see this, I don't see this. I've seen, huh, usually that means this or this or this. And then you can scout for something more focused, right? Like suddenly you're not scouting for, well, there's something off. I don't know what it is, but I'm gonna look for it. Suddenly you're like, oh, this is usually either Hellbat or it's this, and then
yeah.
you can actually look for those things,
That's something I really,
which is
really gotta get together.
yeah.
That sounds
One of
good.
my things is, oh, I need to scout for a third base because that is the easiest thing for me to notice on the minimap because I'm really bad at looking at the buildings. That's you
Yeah,
know when I don't see a third base, I'm like super relaxed. I'm like, oh, he doesn't have a third base down right now. I can just make all the queens. I can make a couple units even. Don't have to drone all the time because I feel like I'm ahead if I did my droning correctly. If he doesn't have a third,
yeah.
and if he has a third, I'm always kind of like, okay, so I gotta like finesse my way out of here, or it's probably not gonna be as strong or scary. Like, um, it gives me a good read on the power level of whatever's coming,
Hmm.
even though I don't know what it is. It's just very general feeling, and that does help me. But
No,
it,
it sounds.
it's yeah, it's also another trigger, right? Like, oh, I don't see a third base. I should probably expect something to come out.
I'll
Um,
write that stuff down.
yeah.
I want to remember it in 1 hour, then I know what I can focus on in the games I'm playing. I mean, it sounds so obvious, but I really want to remember that.
I mean, I think that's good that it sounds obvious because that means you're like this close to actually doing it.
I
Because if it wouldn't make sense to you, it would take a lot more effort for you to implement it, right?
do you know how often I feel like I'm so close to doing it in StarCraft and then it's actually not happening?
Yeah, that's great. That gives a dopamine boost. Like, oh, I'm almost there. Yeah. No, that's really like good for learning. If you feel like you're doing some of the things right, but just barely
Yeah.
not, that helps a lot with your learning.
I think I can fix that. I think I can
Yeah,
fix that. I'm really excited to playing today.
yeah,
Right
that's
now
good
I'm
to hear.
pumped.
um, okay, thank you for showing this game. Um, I wanna
Thank you for watching it.
yeah, no problem. I wanna ask you before we put an end to it.
Yeah,
Um, did we cover what you want to talk about today? Or do you
I
feel
think so.
like
I
you
feel like
have
it.
some handles or idea on how to progress?
I think how do I say it? My problems that I described to
Hmm.
you are very how do you pronounce that? Vague,
Yeah, vague or
very
abstract, I would say.
unspecific.
Yeah.
So it's really hard to get to like a how do you say that? A correct answer. Like
Hmm.
there is no right answer, but I think the ideas you gave me about the mindset and stuff like that, or how to think about the stuff we talked about right now with
Hmm.
how am I reacting in those situations. At least I have an idea now that I can try out.
Yeah.
That's really helpful. And so in general, I think we definitely attacked my problem a little bit.
Yeah. So what I want to make sure that you remember is that I think it's good that you are trying to figure this out, that you're talking with me, for example, or other people
Mhm.
about this problem, because that means you've already identified that it is a problem, and that's the first step, right? Being
Yeah,
aware that you have a problem. Um, and that means you can also start attacking it. And then second is make sure that you have those goals that you can actually define.
Yeah.
Actually having a goal or those triggers, right? Like setting one of those triggers and then using it should feel amazing. And trust me, it will. The moment next time you see something dumb and you're like, I really should do an overseer scout. That should be like, oh my god, I'm so fucking awesome. I just did the overseer scout that I wanted to do. I feel amazing when I do that, and I hope that you do as well.
I'll pay attention to it, but
Yeah,
I think I can relate.
yeah, but it's and you should feel awesome because you just literally improved your game. Um, like you decided on something and then you executed it, and I think that's worth praising for yourself, even though it's a small thing. And then whatever happens after,
is another problem.
yeah, is another thing entirely. But those
that I can
small
tackle.
wins, I feel like are super important in StarCraft, and they make it very fun.
Hmm. I agree.
But yeah, I think that will be us for today. Feel free to schedule another session if I have time and room. I'd be glad to have you. If you have small questions, you're always welcome to like message me or ask in the chat or whatever.
I appreciate it.
Yeah.
I'll try to fix the stuff that I have right now, and
yeah, let me know how it goes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been a while since I did a lot of coaching, but I try to ask a lot of questions, to listen a lot, and sometimes I have an idea, especially since we're so similar in rank, and we play the same race, and I used to play the same playstyle. I felt like maybe those anecdotes could actually help, but usually I try to not talk about myself too much. So sorry if that is annoying.
No, I really appreciate it. I mean, it's really nice to talk to somebody like that can give you some insight, like share a little bit the experience we have with the game. So if I can grab the next 100 MMR, I might even ask you for practice games in ZVC.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, I'll keep you up to date.
I'll give you a
much
warning. My ZVC is dirty.
Oh, it doesn't matter. I mean, that's what I got to practice, right? So
I'm a 2-base god, I can tell you that much.
Yeah,
I think I have like 7 kind of builds that all stem from the same opening in ZVZ, and that's just what I do.
I will send you a nice 2-base Muta ZVT in a couple of days, and you can rate it.
Oh, I mean, I play 2-base Muta and ZVT as well. So
yeah, I hear that. So I don't.
I'll grill yours,
but I'm really good at it. So
yes.
Okay. Then I wish you a nice evening. Thank you for having me, and a nice weekend as well.
Haku, thank you for sharing your problems with staying focused on your game plan. I hope that we shared some ideas, insights on how to approach that. I hope you're going to have a lot of fun with StarCraft. And
I hope so too.
I hope we'll catch up in the future. Yes?
Yeah, have a nice day.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
See ya.
Bye-bye. Okay, thank you, Haku. I'll make better notes next time, and then I'll so that I can actually send them to you, and then they make sense. This was a bit of a pilot for me as well. Right, I'm gonna turn off the stream for a couple seconds, so that I have a nice VOD on the YouTube, and then we'll start playing some ladder games, guys. I'll be right back, 2 seconds.